Mark Meadows has now surrendered to authorities in Georgia.
The former White House chief of staff turned himself in just hours before former President Trump is also expected to. The booking photo for Mark Meadows has been released to the public. Meadows was processed at the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta. Georgia officials have accused him, Trump, and 17 others of scheming to overturn the 2020 election.
Now, unlike the previous criminal cases, former President Trump will have a booking photo taken as well. At least 11 of the 19 defendants have now turned themselves in. All of the defendants have been ordered to surrender by noon Friday. Joining us now from Atlanta is CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Sganga. Nicole, great to see you again. I understand activity really picking up outside the courthouse and the jailhouse, the key locations here in this last hour. What can you tell us about Meadows' surrender and what else is expected to happen in the next few hours?
Errol, good to be with you. Some activity is picking up here outside the Fulton County Jail, and former Chief of Staff to President Trump, Mark Meadows, surrendering inside. His fingerprints were taken, as you mentioned. He would have gotten a booking photo. We're yet to see that booking photo. A quick medical evaluation, height, weight, but he was in and out and did not make remarks to the press. Now, there was a real question of whether or not Mark Meadows would even surrender this week. His attorneys have moved to get his case removed from Fulton County Superior Court to federal court, arguing that he was operating in his official capacity as a federal officer in his chief of staff position when all of this went down, and that this case should be heard in federal court. There is a hearing on Monday in that case. His lawyers were trying to get his surrender deadline moved back. The court said no, and so we saw him appear at the jail today instead, just hours before the anticipated arrival of the former president and the heightened security here on the ground.
Nicole, tell us where you are in your location. How the proximity to the jail. We've been seeing some different areas there. It looks like perhaps you're in a press area or maybe near the demonstrators. I also understand that you've talked to some of them who actually came to Atlanta for Trump's surrender.
Lana, we are on the Rice Street side of the Fulton County Jail. There are two entrances to this jail, lots of angles here and lots of law enforcement all around. You can see some unmarked vehicles behind me. These belong to the SWAT team of the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. As for protesters, there are dozens who have come out in full force today. Some of the former president's most ardent supporters, lots of MAGA hats, 2024 Trump signs. I spoke with a group who drove 9 hours from New Orleans as part of a church group to pray for the president outside. Also spoke to several Atlanta residents who have turned out in support of former President Trump. One thing that surprised me is, everyone I've spoken with has told me, yes, they're excited to perhaps see the former president, but really they want him to see them and to understand that they have his back. Take a listen. I spoke with Atlanta resident Laura Bozeman-Year earlier.
What do you hope to see today when he...
Well, what I hope to see, what I want him to see is that we're here, we have his back, we're going to support him no matter what, and we're willing to stand out here. The heat is nothing new for Trump supporters
right now.
So I'm a Trump supporter. I'm used to the heat. I will stand out here in the heat and the snow to support Donald Trump and support freedom of speech and the Constitution of the United States.
Nicole, really interesting.
And you heard it there, in the heat or in the snow. It is certainly hot out here, Lana. I just want to point out that as all of these folks are gathering, it is 90 degrees and counting, a high of 95 today. So no small feat for protesters, demonstrators, and supporters who have been outside for hours, some of them camping overnight nearby so they could catch a glimpse, perhaps, of the former president's motorcade.
I was just going to say how interesting it was that she was wearing a hat that said Trump won on it.
The central lie that
Right.
former President Trump is being accused of perpetuating. So, Nicole, considering you've got some of the former president's strongest supporters outside the jailhouse, there's so much attention, not just from the media, but from everybody. What are some of the additional security measures being taken? I know that at one entrance of the jailhouse, there's a police cruiser seeming to be on standby. I know there are barricades at the Fulton County Courthouse. What else are you seeing?
Well, you can see just over my left shoulder here, there are bicycle racks. Those extend down the street, and protesters and media alike being held behind those barricades. The street that we're on, Rice Street, being closed off to any incoming traffic. Interestingly enough, this is still a fully operating jail, and so we've watched as police, law enforcement, Fulton County Sheriff deputies have been walking out inmates who have been released today, and instead of just letting them go, they've had to walk them down the road to the side of the highway to ensure their safety. So still a fully operational jail here, but a much larger security footprint. In addition to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, we've seen local support from Gwinnett County. Their sheriffs are here in full force, the Atlanta Police Department, and of course the U.S. Secret Service, which has personnel lining the roads around this jail in anticipation of the former president's arrival. Pretty soon they will put up a no drone zone. The FAA putting a no-fly zone in place from 6:45 p.m. to 9 p.m. again ahead of the former president's arrival, just locking everything down.
And Nicole, before we let you go, the majority of the defendants have turned themselves in at this point, but some still haven't. If they don't surrender by tomorrow, what are the repercussions?
Yeah, at least 10 so far have turned themselves in, but there are still a large handful of defendants who have not surrendered to authorities, though many of those, we still anticipate all of those actually will surrender to authorities. They all have, consent bond orders or agreements on what their bond will be set at. That being said, the Fulton County DA, Fani Willis, has made it very clear that the deadline tomorrow, Friday at noon, is a hard deadline. And at that time, if certain defendants have not turned themselves in, there will be arrest warrants filed, and the Fulton County Sheriff's Office is equipped and prepared to carry out those arrests.
All right, some more great reporting from our Nicole Skanga. Stay cool out there as the day heats up. We appreciate it.